Dancer, former soldier, businesswoman, and writer, Chen Lizra was born in Israel. She now lives in Canada. However, Cuba feels like her true home. She is simply in love with Cuba, its history, and its possibilities. She brings the charm of her Cuba to us in an unusual travel guide called My Seductive Cuba. It is my pleasure to welcome Chen Lizra to Studio 4 to tell us more. I can barely say gefilte fish, but you know, it's spelled C-H-E-N. It's pronounced
Chen.
Chen, I know.
Good luck. I know it's
Good
tough for
luck,
North
I
Americans.
know. So we will do the best. We'll call you Ms. Lizra.
Sure.
So Israel, the Israeli army, how did you get here?
I originally came here actually to study animation. I was in the field of animation before I quit that, went into business school and created my company.
Okay. How did you get to Cuba first time? Why?
Because of the dancing. I started dancing and I danced for a while, and then I started teaching with a Cuban partner, and eventually when we split the partnership, there's so many things I didn't know, and I've never gone to Cuba, and I felt I needed to go to the source to see where it started, to see what was authentic about it, and that's when I went the first time in 2005.
And was it love at first step?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay, so not so much. Toilet paper a little rough.
A little sandpaper. Well, it was tough at the beginning because when I just arrived, I didn't really understand how the opportunists work. I mean, you've got opportunists in every country, but I didn't understand that kind of flavor. So I felt like a little lost the first week when I landed, when people were trying to take advantage of me. You know, being Israeli, we are very street smart because it's a rougher country, right? But I could tell something was off. I couldn't tell what it was exactly. So it took me a little bit of time. But once I got past that and I really started seeing, I think, the heart and the nature of Cuban people, I just fell in love with the people and the culture.
And how different from the heart and the nature of a Canadian, of an Israeli?
Well, Israel and Cuba are actually very similar in so many ways. It's crazy because they don't actually have relations, right? But they are so similar to one another. Canada is like taking the coin and flipping it to the other side. It couldn't be more different. I mean, we focus here on individualism, on success, on, you know, drive, on, you know, this is more where the focus is.
Not showing too much emotion.
Exactly, right? It's more reserved, it's more controlled, whereas Cuba is like fire and fireworks and wild and crazy and messy and broken, and it's like definitely not the Swiss clock kind of a thing.
I have a Cuban girlfriend, and my friend calls her the hot tamale. Because she is passionate and forthright and
opinionated.
Opinionated, very much so, and the men flirt.
Oh, the women do too.
And the women flirt.
Of course. It's part of the culture, you know, and I think that we miss that here. You know, and this is why people fall in love with Cuba when they go, because it gives them that thing that's missing here.
So it takes us away, but they have a special way, in a sense, of looking at the world. Well, no wonder. You've been, you know, raised under Castro. That's a different shot.
Yes. Yes, and I mean, when you live in a place where you don't have democracy and you can make choices, for example, to leave the country when you want to, or to make the kind of money that you want, that forces you to get creative in a different way.
Yes, and as you see the sights of Cuba in your mind, a family on a bicycle, 6 on a bicycle with a baby in the front,
You
perhaps?
loved that, didn't you?
I loved that. 6 people actually got on a bicycle and somehow got down the road.
Oh, that was a long distance. That picture you saw in the book, that was a long, we were driving and we see them going like, oh my God, stop the car, I gotta take a picture of this.
Your favorite places in Cuba? Havana.
Havana is one of my favorite places. Baracoa is an incredible place. Trinidad, which is the city, not the country. What is so unique about Baracoa and Trinidad, for example, are that these are tiny little towns, villages that have so much music, but yet it's tiny, it's personal, it's like, it's
So
incredible.
it's the oldest Spanish settlement, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's kind of the first capital of Cuba, and it's still
Baracoa.
small, and the people, and you're obviously fluent in the language.
80%.
80%. Now, what do they speak?
They speak Spanish.
Spanish, but is it called something else?
It's called Cubanos.
That's what I thought. It is Spanish. Is it Spanish? Because the Chileans, in essence, speak Spanish, but it's got a twist.
Cubans have their own way of pronouncing things. It's a little muddy, and they drop the S's at the end. So there's a joke with the foreigners in Havana where they say, you know why Cubans drop their S's? You know, instead of saying says, which is 6, say. You go like, do you know why they drop their S's? And someone go like, oh, because they're keeping them for the malecón.
When you leave Cuba and come back to Canada, what do you miss most?
The warmth.
The sun warmth or the people warmth?
The people warmth. There's such a strong sense of community, solidarity. People are leaning on each other 100% that you never feel ever alone. You feel like you're part of something. And I think this is why some Cubans even leave and come back to leave. I have one of my best friends, Jerry Lu, the one from the stories.
Yes.
She came back to Cuba. She lived in Italy because she said, I will never be happy anywhere else. You know, that sense of community is something, because it's a socialist country, because it's not about the money, it's about the community, it's about being together, is that thing that you miss the most, I think.
Well, it's a different way of life. There's no question about it. And there's possibilities galore now, or there could be. We don't know. What's it like today, politically?
Well, things are changing rapidly. Since Fidel got sick and Raúl basically took over in 2006, but then became the official president in 2008, he's decided to implement major economic changes because Cuba was on the verge of bankruptcy almost. And I mean, he's decided to lay off 1.3 million people from government jobs. They've approved 350,000 of self-employment licenses. They're giving loans. They're allowing Cubans for the first time to sell houses and cars. So there's mega changes happening. And it's kind of funny because I just got an email the other day from a friend of mine, and he's like, wow, there's so much more competition now. What do you do with that?
Well, and the American tourists are about to land. I have a feeling the rules are going to change. And I know so many people say, go to Cuba before the Americans get there, or return, really. But did you get a feeling of a Hemingway and a Cuba and Havana and the cigars and?
Oh yeah, I mean, Hemingway is everywhere, and this is one of the things that I do in a tour, is that with the tours that I'm leading, I'm taking people to see real Cuba the way it is in the book for only 10 people. And I give them a Hemingway tour. So we go to all the places where Hemingway used to hang out, you know, from restaurants to like the village where he used to live.
So like Havana and the old Havana, is there a new Havana? I'm sure there is.
There's Havana Nueva, yes, but it doesn't look new.
Okay.
It's just the name.
Okay, and the cars, I haven't been to Cuba, but everybody says the cars, it's like Back to the Future.
They are, and you know what? If they ever took them out, I think it would be a different city. Part of the charm of the place is the cars.
And what about the food?
The food, you know, there's a misconception about food because a lot of people come back from Cuba and they say food is horrible in Cuba. And people that come with me, they always say food is amazing. But what you have to understand is that you have to know how to work the system. This is why I wrote the book. So it's like you go to a place, let's say, where a paladar. And a paladar is where it's in someone's house. You know, someone would care more probably than a restaurant where there's a cook who's being paid $20 a month, right? So you have to know where you're going to get the good food. There are many great restaurants, but you have to know where you're going.
Where to go and who makes the best mojito and all of that, but where to go in any city.
Right.
Not just in Cuba, the country, but in any city, in Havana, wherever you are. Now the dance part of you, you went there to train a dance. What kind of dance? Not ballet.
No, not ballet. I trained basically in all the, I was training in Afro-Cuban, in salsa, and more modern stuff, in cha-cha-cha, mambo, that kind of stuff.
There you are, cha-cha-chaing. Or are you mamboing?
No,
or
this
are
is
you,
salsa.
Are you salsaing?
This is a competition they actually created on the spot for me in that club because they love to show me off as the Israeli woman who dances like a Cuban.
Really?
Yes.
That's
really
a compliment.
Cute. It's really cute. So they actually created that competition on the spot. And it's really adorable because by the end of it, it doesn't really matter who wins. They just want to play, and there's like a tiny little poster you get.
How great. And what about the Cuban men that would like to take you to dinner?
They would like to take me for more than just dinner.
I hear tell. I love the story in this book. And this is, yes, it's a travel guide, but it's also a book of stories. And the story about, I think you're in a phone booth talking to your father.
I'm walking on the street with my cell phone.
That's it.
That's right.
I take you back to the phone booth, yes. And there is a Cuban gentleman very interested in you.
Yes. That's kind of a funny one because he was a real bugger. Like he just would not let it go. And my dad tried to call me for like, I think 3 weeks. And we were like getting cut off because the lines are not stable. It was a local phone. And it's like, eventually gets through, and I'm like, Dad, can you hear me? He's like, yes, I can't believe this. And this guy is like bugging me. And eventually I turn around to him in Spanish. I go like, just leave me alone, okay? Do you understand? And he's like, and he was so Spanish with their attitude that he just froze like that. Like he didn't expect me to be all Cuban on him. And my dad, but at the same time, it was kind of like flirty, because when you reject them, you have to do it in a sweet way. And my dad, hearing it from the other side of the phone, just cracked up. He doesn't understand Spanish, but it was so funny.
He thought, she is saying something very feisty, like, go away. National Ballet of Cuba is coming here, as you know, Don Quixote.
Yes.
You'll be part of that evening.
Yes.
Inspired by my old friend, David Y.H. Louis, impresario.
Yes.
Queen Elizabeth Theater.
Yep. Basically, we're very lucky to have the ballet because, as you know, David Y.H. Louis, who started bringing them, died along the way from poor health.
Yes.
And Brent Belcher, who's basically his colleague and friend, he decided to take over and continue this and make it happen. And I was just talking to him yesterday on the phone. He's like, people are standing and giving standing ovations in the middle of the show because they are so athletic that it's almost like watching Cirque du Soleil together with classical ballet.
Really, it sounds wonderful. I'd like to see it. The score by the Vancouver Opera Orchestra, and it plays from the 16th to the 18th of Feb.
Yes.
Right, in honor of David Y.H. Louis and others. Or we can go on a tour with you.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Why
My
not?
Seductive Cuba tour with best-selling author Chen Lizra.
Very
I'm getting
good.
better.
You're getting very good at it.
I'm getting better. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you. It's a great travel guide because it's not your usual travel guide.
Completely not.
No,
not even
completely
close,
not.
right?
Not-
Because of the personal story.
Exactly. How great. Remember, you can catch all of our conversations on YouTube or follow us on Twitter at Fanny Studio 4, and on Monday.